All right, hello, welcome everybody. The week is over. I'm Tom, here with George. Hello, George.
This is crazy time. I'm sorry, I want to get right into it.
Go
But
ahead,
I'm
get right
Greenwood
into it.
Sour Mountain Gaming, and this is remember this what I think I started talking about this before it was ever it ever came out in court. And I've been talking about this now for months
What are we talking
about
about?
how they've been manipulating the price of Bitcoin and how of course this is on the backs of the retail who are taking the hit and grabbing their ankles. And this is what I've been. Remember, I've been screaming this, and you guys have all been telling me I'm a nut job, which I am. But it's interesting to see.
I don't think you're nuts, George.
And I'm now, but my question is, what's the end goal? Is they just want it all? They want the whole cake? They want everybody out?
Well, at some point,
Bitcoin?
getting everybody out does no good unless
I know.
everybody comes back in later. They want.
But anyways, happy Friday to everyone. It's insane with what's coming out with this FTX. If you want to pull your hair out, go listen to it.
I know, and I've been paying. I know you've been paying attention. I've been ignoring the FTX situation. I feel like it's a lot of, what's the right word?
Hubba
It's
lubba?
it's yeah, about stuff that's all already happened, and we got to get to the bottom of it and understand what's what. But I don't know if it's not helping. It's not helping me understand how to go forward. Having said that, I know it's a wall-to-wall coverage right now, and we need to know what went on. FE702, thank you very much for your
Thank you,
super
sir.
chat. CZ
Thank you,
doing
sir.
all the work, dumping Bitcoin. CZ.
Peter G. George, you are a nut job regardless. However, they manipulated it throughout almost all equities, not just BTC.
I mean, the market is
Yeah.
heavily manipulated. More so, I think definitely I would agree with that. More, it's always been true to a certain extent. It just keeps growing and growing and growing. The manipulation is brutal. I do think that's why the dollar cost averaging and being a longer term investor is becoming a more popular strategy
Would you
because you
long the
don't know which.
market? Would you long the market right now?
No,
No, I was gonna say because that was like that's the strategy that everybody always says, but
I
I don't think that's the right strategy. I
I
think the right strategy right now is to long Bitcoin. Sorry, go
I
on.
well, yeah. I mean, you got to pick. I wouldn't long the whole market, although historically speaking, that's always been the right thing to do. That doesn't mean it will. We don't know that will always be true in the future, but over long periods of time, that has always been paid off big time. But
I There's only one reason why I don't agree with that analogy anymore, and I have almost $34 trillion of a reason why.
you're talking about the debt.
Yes.
The
That's the
debt.
whole factor that we don't realize. And you know what?
All
I
right.
feel bad for people under the age of 30 because they don't know the freaking, pardon my expression, shit show that they just get.
Well, they're inheriting, and that's not the final number either. Until we see some reason
No.
to believe it's gonna stop, it's got to stop going up before it can start going down. So we're many steps away from moving in the right direction here.
What's the right number where it crumbles? 40, 40,
I
60,
think if you would have
100?
asked everybody, the number where everything crumbles would have been a lot lower than the number we're already at.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I mean, that would have been everybody's guess just 10 years ago. It would have been unthinkable we would reach these numbers. So even 5 years
And we
ago.
did it in I know, and we did it in 10 short years.
Yeah,
I
the
mean, think
last
about it,
5.
2008. 2008. What were we? 6, 7 trillion in debt?
The presidents have pretty much throughout their, the ones that had 8-year cycles pretty much doubled the debt, but this last bit here, since 2019, 2020 until now has been just, you know,
But
unbelievable. And
my thing is, I heard that BlackRock's been pulling out of the market. They've been slowly reducing their positions in the cash.
And
And
do you have a
I
source on
mean,
that?
if when you got 13 trillion, I mean, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, they can still. They got a lot of money to play with. All right, timeout. Everybody,
Okay.
please smash the like button. This is our first smash the like button attempt. We got 27 likes. We always shoot for 100 likes. You guys have been doing an unbelievably good job. Especially, I just want to take a time out and thank everybody for smashing the like button on the videos. It's been making a big difference for the channel. So much appreciated, because these are super hard times. Everybody's losing interest, but hitting the like button has been helping
Oh,
us in the algorithm. So much appreciated.
Sour Melon Gaming. Ouch. Ouch. Why are you so mean to Tom like that?
But
Ready? You're going to
I
hate me, Tom, for this, but Bitfarms is on track to go below 38 cents. It's going to be devastating to most investors.
I don't know. I don't know what the answer to that is, and I would never say anything is out of the question. It's below $1. I will tell you, one of the things, I was talking to somebody about this today. One of the things is there's a little bit of psychology going on at work here, because if you compare Bitfarms to all the other Bitcoin miners, they're actually not underperforming. They're performing they're somewhere in the middle of the pack, but they just went under $1. And psychologically, that it makes it feel like they are performing worse than, all the other Bitcoin miners. And the truth is, there's 4 or 5 that are performing significantly worse than Bitfarms. So Bitfarms is somewhere right in the middle. I don't know if they're at the bottom. They got down to like 93 cents today. They could keep going lower for sure. Let's put it this way. I mean, they're lower right now than they were when Bitcoin was at 25,000, and we're still, we're under 27, but we're $1,500 or $1,800 above where where Bitfarms was at a higher price. But that is true of almost every single Bitcoin miners, and I'm going to show you guys a few charts today. There are some Bitcoin miners that have gotten absolutely decimated. Forget the last 3 months. Everything's down 50% or more in the last 3 months. There's a couple of small exceptions to that. Some are down 60%, 70%, 80%. At one point today, BitDeer was down 38% on the day today at one point. BitDeer, and you guys know, every single live stream I mention and in my weekly updates, I always make a point to mention BitDeer trades on extremely low volume. Even today, with a drastic move, they lost $200 million of market cap on like $1 million of trading. And I almost thought they've moved in the last 3 weeks. They've moved from $14 down to, they were at $3.50 in the middle of the day today. And I thought, man, I should just load the truck up. But I didn't do it. It's not, that hasn't been a part of my plan. And I just didn't want to do something out of left field that I have no, I didn't want to break my own rule. I don't know what they're going to do next. I think they did have a nice recovery off of that $3.50. Let's see. Hold on. Let me see where they closed the day today.
Okay, man, it's because I'm always excited to start talking. Hello, audience. It's George.
So from BitDeer finished at $4.50. So had I backed up the truck at $3.50, I would have made $1 on this already by the end of the day today. But then what do? Sell it? Because I don't know where it's going next. Who knew it was going from $14 to $3.50 in 3 weeks? So there's a lot of wacky stuff going on with the Bitcoin miners. Sour Melon Gaming, I understand. I hold a lot of Bitfarms, and it's all relative. A lot for me. And it's disheartening to see it at these numbers. It's disheartening to see it under $1. But I will say, when I do my weekend update this weekend, I think you're going to see it's right in the middle. It's not below average. And there are some that are much worse. I would be shocked if it got back down to 38 cents, but I would not be shocked or even surprised if it kept moving down from here. So I'm not calling a bottom. We'll talk more later and do some polls. We don't know where Bitcoin's going. So obviously all these are even when Bitcoin's going sideways, the Bitcoin miners are getting beat up right now. Imagine if Bitcoin starts, hitting new lower numbers, which leads us to what should be our first poll.
Are you going to do the poll I suggested?
Yeah, I'm going to go. Yours was a real simple poll.
It's real simple.
You want me to say, would you or are you?
Are you? Cosmic. Bitcoin going to 15 is not out of the question. Wow. Wow, wow, wow.
So I'm just going to ask super simple. Are you buying Bitcoin? Did you buy it this week? Are you buying it next week? Yes or no? So at these prices, at where it is right now, are you buying it? Is it a buy? Are you buying it? And not even is it a buy? Are you buying it?
Are you buying it? I think that's the question.
Right. Are you buying?
Here's a good one. K. I own about 9,000 marathons at $18. Should I dump 2/3 of it and get 1/3 Riot and 1/3 Cleanspark? Tom.
So my opinion on that, and obviously this is not financial advice. I can't tell you what to do, but what I can tell you is, for me, I own multiple Bitcoin miners. I like to be diversified. Every single Bitcoin miner has its own strategy, very different strategies, one from the other. And you just named, three. Those are the three largest Bitcoin miners at this point. I know some people might argue whether or not CleanSpark's in that third spot. But Marathon and Riot have been the largest by market cap by far for a long, long time. CleanSpark is not third in market cap. There's several in between. But in exahash and production, Marathon's been number one. CleanSpark's been number two for many, many months in a row. This does not count Core Scientific, which is in Chapter 11. So, that's that notwithstanding. So, I like to diversify. Even, they're all Bitcoin miners, so it's already a heavy concentration. Having all of it in just one, to me, is even higher risk. So I like to spread my risk. I am way overweight in Bitcoin miners as it is. So for me, I spread my risk out across them. And for me personally, again, not financial advice, this is absolutely my personal opinion. Out of the three you just mentioned, I think Marathon would be in third place out of those three. Although that's a question I'm going to ask a question. I'm going to do a poll related to this exact question later. It was already on my list for a specific reason, which we will talk about. So I don't know. For everybody, it's different. It depends how much of your portfolio it is. And obviously, it depends how much you like each one of those companies. You should definitely, I would say this, you should know your companies. Don't just spread out across companies just to diversify. If you don't know anything about CleanSpark and if you don't know anything about Riot, then, you're more likely to bail on those if things aren't going well. If those are random investments. I see Chris Dominator saying, do not sell Mara, buy more. Chris is back on the Marathon track. You were heavy Marathon and then you switched gears for a minute, but you switched back. Darren Thomas is talking about Marathon and Riot started at underweight by JP Morgan this week. I have a chart on that. I'm going to talk about that and do a poll about that because, that made a lot of noise this week. So we definitely, I want to dig into that some more and see what everybody thinks. So the results so far, George, are you buying Bitcoin now? Now
look at that. It was almost split a second ago.
We're at 60-40 right now, no. So, pretty close.
I thought it would be more no than yes.
I mean, no is winning, but it's not a runaway by any stretch of the imagination.
It's not, and my imagination can really be stretched.
Let's see. So let's go to. Let me bring some stuff up while you guys are voting on that. Gotta switch screens. All right. The first thing is, I'll bring up my own. I had been saying coming into October, and in the first week of October, I felt very strongly we were going to have a green month this month. I presented a very specific case as to why I thought that, and I will tell you, I think that scenario is broken. So I don't know. That doesn't mean we're not going to have a green month, but I specifically want to go through what I was looking at, and I showed this along the way. So I want to visit why pretty much all the things that I was looking for, every piece of this has broken over the last week. So, and then I'll show you one other thing that I still think, there's one last thing that I still think gives us hope for a little bullish activity. And I will also say, we're not even halfway through the month. So we never wanna speculate and as somebody, I posted a video. I get a lot of these. Anytime I post a video that talks about a short-term, which direction I think things are going to go in, and I rarely do that because it's getting harder and harder and harder to predict the short term. So every time I do it, within 24 hours, somebody said, "Oh, this didn't age well," and it's like, well, you guys got to realize, 24 hours, it hasn't aged at all. So you got to give it a little time. We have until the month of October, and there's a old rule in sports about celebrating early. It's usually frowned upon, and it can come back to bite you. But let me show you what in my opinion has broken down. What I was looking at has and it's a lot of this is on the RSI. So two things. If I go to the daily RSI, you'll see I had this yellow line, and this had been kind of an ascending line of support. We were bouncing off of it, and we were moving up and up and up. This bottomed out somewhere, in somewhere around August 19th. It looks like the RSI bottomed out. We were way oversold at that point. We were under 20 on the daily RSI for Bitcoin. So that is way, way oversold. That is an absolute full-blown reset. So we had a lot of momentum up, and we've been holding this trend line. So that was the first thing. So there was three things I did not want to see happen, and all three of them happened. Number one, we broke through this trend line on a daily candle close. And we had, the next day, a confirmation below the line again. So we closed below this and had a second day confirming that close below. So that was number one so a part of my thesis for, Bitcoin to maybe make a run to 30,000 or 32,000 was this line was holding. That did not hold. However, I also said I'm not going to be too concerned if we break this line as long as we bounce off of 50, which is neutral on the daily RSI. Well, we missed that too. We've now closed below that and had a daily candle confirm below that. So that's 0 for 2. Number 3, we had a bearish crossover on the 11th, which was Wednesday. So on the MACD, we had a crossover, and we are now 2 days into confirming that. So everything is moving in the wrong direction here in the middle of the month. But it's like I said, it's only the 13th, so there's a chance we now have a chance to potentially have a little reset here and take another run at this sometime before the end of the month. But the trend that I was looking at, this has been nullified. This pattern is broken. So what I was looking to have happen, that did not occur. So I gotta, I feel like I gotta keep everybody up to date because we talked about this a lot on the member stream. I talked about this. I did a video on this. And now I did talk about, you know, we got to watch these things, you know, and if these things happen, then, you know, that would break this pattern. So we always look at the upside, we look at the downside, and I try to explain what I'm looking at. All of these, this is strictly technical analysis, so you never know what else goes on. The news can happen, anything under the sun can happen, and sometimes things just break and start moving in the other direction. Right? We never did get to 70 or above here on this run up. We typically do. You'll see the last time we did here back in June and before we had a full reset, and this time we have not gotten back there yet. So it's not impossible. This will reverse course and get back to, you know, I was looking to get to 72 to 75 on the daily RSI, and I thought that would give us a nice run up to potentially 30 or above by the end of October. So that still may very well be the case, but at the moment, this is broken and the trend has shifted downward, just from a technical standpoint. Now, the one piece of the puzzle that I think is still giving me some hope is, you know, this was our low back on September 11th. So you can see, you know, we're setting a series of higher lows, and then at the same time, let me get rid of that. We're setting. I gotta move this over. What's happening? Okay. So at the same time, we got higher highs. So that pattern has not broken. And obviously, I cannot draw, as is always evidenced every time I try. But so that would be the last thing to break down. And that would break down if we get below this light blue line, or whatever you want to call it, somewhere just under 26,000. If we break below that, then we've gotten lower than this point, and that would be the last thing. Then that would, every single thing would say that, you know, maybe we're not going to go take that run that I thought we were going to take in October. So, you know, I won't say it's broken until it's broken, but I'll show you this another way. This was a really clear channel we were staying inside. This started over a month ago, just a little over a month ago, and you can see we were inside to the upside and the downside. We were staying in this channel and moving in an upward direction. That was a full month of activity. Once we broke out of it, we've been out of this to the downside. You know, this will be now the third day in a row we have a daily candle close outside of this upward channel. So you can see at the moment, I would say I'm nowhere near as confident in that October scenario as I was. So we'll see what you guys think. So we'll switch polls. Let's see where this poll is at right now. And while I'm doing it, if I could ask everybody to please smash the like button. It looks like we're at 47 likes. We're shooting for 100. It helps the live stream a lot. So anybody who's willing to, if you enjoy this content, if you enjoy this live stream, it is a big help if you would smash the like button. So it helps spread this out to other people so they can join us and enjoy as well. All right, so let's look at this poll. And it's been pretty much right where, you know, it's stayed in a very similar place all along. Are you buying Bitcoin now was our first question. 58% said no. 42% said yes. So we were somewhere in the neighborhood of 60-40 from start to finish on this poll. So more people not buying at the moment. We'll ask a separate question relating to this later. So we're a little bit, so almost 40, over 40% still are, whether you're dollar cost averaging or whatever the case may be. So let's end that and ask the next question. I write down a bunch of these, and sometimes we do very similar polls from time to time. And I hope that this, one of the things, obviously, we're a small sample group, but a lot of people that watch this channel are in Bitcoin, and particularly the Bitcoin miners. So, I think I try to glean some information out of this. Obviously, it's just one piece of data, and these are unofficial polls, but I think they're telling. And I think that in the past, the way we've polled here on our live streams has very much reflected the overall market, as it turns out. So our polling, I think, has been pretty accurate, but obviously take it for what it is. So next question. Will Bitcoin hit $30,000 in October? So that was my price target. That's what I felt was going to happen. I just showed you the case of why I think, at the moment, things have broken from a technical standpoint. But, we'll see. By Monday, we could be looking at a different scenario. But at the moment, all the 3 or 4 things I did not want to happen, actually 4 out of the 5 things happened. There's still one that I think is still moving in the right direction, which is that we're setting higher lows and higher highs. And until we break that, then we haven't officially changed directions. So there's still room to say that really, even though we're in a pullback, we're still, and this is breaking it down just to the month of October. This is kind of micro breaking it down, but we haven't broken out of this bullish, short-term bullish trend yet, but there's a lot of signals saying we're about to. Let's see what you guys think. How you doing, George?
Me? I'm just frustrated. I think that somebody asked the question, and that was, I forgot who it was, and I'm sorry, but it was way back, and it says, are you nervous yet, Tom, about Bitcoin and Bitcoin pricing?
They asked it to me?
Yeah. Are you nervous yet?
I'm not nervous, but I will say I have an evolving opinion, as we all should, as data comes in and as time goes by and we see more things. And here's what I'm feeling more like. It's clear Bitcoin is not moving as fast as I thought it was going to move. Now, we'll look at the 4-year cycle. So we're not outside of, from a 4-year cycle standpoint, we're still in a pretty similar spot. You could argue we're mirroring previous cycles. It's a pretty broad range, in my opinion, but we're still inside of that range. So from that standpoint, that's not surprising. I did think we would be ahead of this. There were a lot of reasons to believe we would be moving a little faster, this, in my opinion. But there is a lot of FUD out there holding things back on the flip side of this. So I am still, from a 2-year, 5-year, 10-year position, I'm exactly as bullish as I have ever been. But I am now saying there's no question. I mean, it's undeniable that we're probably going to be at a lower price point than I thought at the halving, which is now just, 6.5 months away, somewhere in that neighborhood. So, you got to acknowledge that. So as I mine, and I made this shift a long time ago in my investments in Bitcoin miners. At one point I had maybe 8 or 10 different miners. Well, I tried to go more best of breed and reduce my risk. So not in the form of investing less. In fact, I'm more invested than I've ever been, but in just shifting to the Bitcoin miners that I think are most suited to withstand 6 months or 12 months or 15 months of Bitcoin action that, is less than I'm anticipating. So in that regard, I've changed my strategy, but I did that a while ago. And so my highest risk investment is the one we talked about earlier, in my opinion, of the Bitcoin miners. Bitfarms is one of my big positions, and I think that has a higher risk reward than I think my second and third largest positions at this point, well, no, my other two of my top three, CleanSpark, I believe at this point, and I would have to add it up, I believe CleanSpark is now my largest position. And Riot. So CleanSpark, Riot, and Bitfarms are my top three. I still do hold some other Bitcoin miners, but those are my three big positions. I did a lot of dollar cost averaging into Iris Energy this year. I took some of it off the table at $5, and that was not very long ago. That was maybe 4 weeks ago. So, it hit $3 again today. So if it gets under that $3, that's a 40% pullback in a short period of time. But I don't know how low these goes. And I like Iris Energy. I just think I expected a pullback. Now, everything pulled back. So, Iris Energy wasn't the only thing to pull back in the last month. They all did. So I happened to take some of that off the table when they talked about an aggressive growth plan. So that fits right into with what I'm talking about. I'm trying to go with the lower risk, and these are all high risk. So I always try to make it clear that regardless of which Bitcoin miner you pick, these are leverage plays on a volatile asset, which is Bitcoin. So these are all automatically high risk, in my opinion, by definition. But within that, the risk varies greatly. Some of these, are significantly higher risk than others. So the closer we get to the halving, the more I would hone in on the ones that I think have the balance sheet to withstand, some extended period of time where maybe Bitcoin doesn't get to where I think it's going to go as fast as I thought it was going to get there. If that makes any sense. But I do continue to dollar cost average in every week. There was somewhere about maybe almost a month ago now, I did take 2 full weeks off and I did no dollar cost averaging. But other than that, I've continued to dollar cost average in. So,
we should start getting movie clips.
And
know that? Sorry. For Ginsler. No offense. You're an asshole. Sorry.
We gotta find the fair use clips, so they
what
don't.
Was it? Yeah,
strike
it was Ferris Bueller when he's on the phone, when he's trying to get what's her name out of.
Yes,
You remember now? Trying to get her out.
Absolutely.
I want to meet you. No. Sorry, guys. I'll let you know I'm doing a movie. April 1 is when I'm starting it. Boom. Man.
Are you gonna be able to tell us what it's about?
The name of the movie is The Boys Got Nothing.
Mm-hmm.
That's the name of the movie, and I can't tell you any more than that. Except The Boys Got Nothing. The Boys Got Nothing.
Potential movie coming from Georgia. So that's an announcement.
Yep.
Live here.
The Boys Got Nothing. Remind me, Tom, because I realized something with the way the world is right now. They said that you need to make about $150,000 to break even with all your expenses, your car, yada 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 yada, to live a decent life.
Well, and that definitely depends on where you live. Cost of living varies from place to place.
How would that work down there in Southwest Florida?
Not so good. This is a very high cost of living. Crypto Golfer said the movie's about George's XRP bag.
Yeah, that's a good one. No, I'm not. No, no, it's not That's not Tom's go-to Frost. The Boys Got Nothing.
Cosmic Contrarian.
It's really, think about it. It's kind of about life in the United States right now.
Well, we can't think about it. We don't know what the movie is yet, so.
Well, that's why you let your mind think about a boy that has nothing, and you go from there. Right?
Yes. You're free to free to think whatever you want.
Yes. So anyway, so Tom, when do you have a number of where you would get out of the miners, the Bitcoin miners?
Of the ones that I just mentioned, there's no number where I would get out of, and it's never fair to say there's no number. We got to see, if life brings something unexpected that is not even on the table right now.
So
then
if
I would
you
have to
if it
reevaluate.
split it in if you split in half right now, you're still in.
Yes.
Whatever your investment in, split it in half right now. You're going to double down.
If Bitcoin went down 50%, you're saying?
Yes.
And
I'm saying,
Bitcoin
well,
went
no.
down-
I mean, Bitcoin could only go down, let's say, $5,000, but the miners could go down 50%.
That's true.
It's not very realistic that it will, but it is a chance that it could happen.
The miners, we don't know. The miners just went down 50% in the last 3 months when Bitcoin has been relatively sideways. So there's nothing to say that can't happen again. There's no certainties. But what I will tell you is for me, the 3 that I just mentioned in specific, those are the ones that I continue to dollar cost average into. I would probably back off. Right now, my number one conviction play is CleanSpark. I've been saying for about 6 months, CleanSpark, Bitfarms, and Iris. I backed off of Iris when they, made a major shift, and, that doesn't mean they're bad. I do think they're going to get, I just thought it was going to result in a big pullback in their stock. Everything's pulled back, so it's hard to tell whether that had any impact or not. I would buy back into Iris at lower numbers if I see them doing the things that make sense. Bitfarms does get more. Bitfarms carries a lot more risk, in my opinion, than Riot and CleanSpark for different reasons. Riot's balance sheet is just an absolute fortress, and they're getting energy credits, in the multi-millions of dollars per month. Now that's going to slow down, but they just racked up, maybe $60 million this summer or more in energy credits. So, that's going to help them get from here, forward for quite some time, in addition to the fact that they have zero debt and a massive amount of cash and Bitcoin on their balance sheet. So, I don't worry about Riot in a 18-month window of time because, the Bitcoin could go, to be ridiculous, Bitcoin could go to almost zero and Riot could survive. Obviously, that's not a scenario anybody wants to see happen, but
702, thanks for the dollars. Bitcoin's going up. It does it every weekend. You know what's going to happen. It'll probably break 28. And then come Monday, boom.
Right, drop rate in time for us to not get a piece of it. Now, if you're trading Bitcoin, you can obviously 24/7. And if you could please smash the like button. We're at 60 likes. We got our streak going. We don't want to break the streak. We shoot for 100 likes on the live stream on Friday. I know this was a rough week for everybody, but it is free to smash the like button. So, and it's much appreciated. And yes, thank you, FV702. I'm just reading a few of the comments.
Wow. Did anybody hear about how Bitcoin was used in the war that is currently going on, or was that just something that I heard? I'll just say that. Did you ever confirm what I said to you?
I did not confirm that. No. Crypto Golfer saying Bitcoin goes back to all-time high sometime after the halving. Those Riot energy credits won't look as attractive. Well, there's no doubt the energy credits with Riot, when I look at, and we've been talking about negative scenarios for Bitcoin and the Bitcoin miners, and if things don't go the way we want, which ones are the safer miners? So with risk comes reward. So whereas I think that Riot is much lower risk, you're right, because those credits won't be as as important if Bitcoin goes to the moon or to all-time highs. That's going to make a lot less of if Bitcoin's at all-time highs. All the miners that I just talked about, I think, will be phenomenal investments. That's my personal opinion, not financial advice. But at Bitcoin 60,000, 70,000, 80,000, all these conversations we're having don't really matter. The question is if 3 months after the halving we're at Bitcoin 38,000, which I think is where what we've been talking about, then yes.
Do you think that Marathon will get to the $5 at the what was it? Was it Chase that put that price target on it?
I don't know if it's going to get to $5. If it does, I don't think it's going to be out of line with what the rest of the Bitcoin miners do. So if we have tough times and all the Bitcoin miners move in the wrong direction, if Bitcoin's moving in the wrong direction and the Bitcoin miners continue to move in the wrong direction, then I think Marathon will move along with them. But I don't think that's a good question, George. Let's talk about this, because obviously this was big. This got a lot of attention this week. So I just made a little chart. Let me find it. JP Morgan. So JP Morgan initiated coverage on 3 Bitcoin miners this week, and they were already covering 2. JP Morgan put a sell on Marathon with a $5 price target. They put a sell on Riot with a $6.50 price target. So at the time they did that, that represented somewhere between a 35 and 40% pullback for Marathon and Riot. Those are the 2 largest market caps by far, always have been, still are right now. So that was sell. CleanSpark, they initiated coverage on overweight with a $5.50 price target. That represented pretty close to a 50% upside. Iris Energy, they reiterated their overweight and had a $6.50 price target on. So 2 sells, 2 buys, and then CIFR they were neutral on. I will tell you, I pay very little attention to what the analysts have to say. So I know it's a big, you can't ignore it. We have to talk about it. It affects the markets. But to me, the first thing I'll say, the question you asked me, George, I disagree with them. I do not think Marathon and Riot are a sell. I don't. That's my opinion. In fact, I would go as far as to say I strongly disagree with that. I think CleanSpark is definitely, for me, a buy. I have no problem with them putting a buy on Iris. I'm a little hesitant waiting to see if there's a little more of a pullback, but long term, I think that's a good company. But for Marathon and Riot to be a sell, I don't agree with that. Disagree. But it doesn't matter what I think. What do the people think? So that's the next poll I want to do. And this one is been just split. Will Bitcoin hit 30,000 in October? Right now we're at yes 51%, no 49%. So this has been super close poll all the way along. Should I shut it down? At pretty much it's a statistical tie at the moment. So let's end this one. And this speaks to the uncertainty that's going on out there right now. This is what is going on. There's no conviction in what comes next in the short term right now for Bitcoin. And that's been proving out week after week after week in our polling. And if you remember, George, for the longest time, for the first probably 4 months of the year, every single week our polls were decisively bullish. Like non-stop, decisively bullish. And then they started to shift. And I think that's just followed along with what the market's done. So
Well,
now,
and the dollar is still freaking strong. I just looked at it just now. I can't believe it. It's still for the U.S. dollar. I can't. Wow.
well, I'll pull that up so everybody can see what you're looking at. I'm going to put a new poll up. So it's going to take me just 1 second to type.
How crazy would it be if FEC approves the Bitcoin ETF during the live stream? I don't think that they would. I don't. Could they? I thought they were making a big deal, like they couldn't do it when Congress was out or something like that. They were making this big deal.
That is something that Gensler is saying. To me, that is complete FUD. They have no... They do not report to Congress in that way.
Yeah, I know. I couldn't.
He'll say
Well, what I was told,
not
so
to approve of.
I don't even want to tell you this one. I heard a rumor. This was just a rumor. I can't confirm it. Don't. Is that
this
the
is not?
This was yesterday. Is that the Bitcoin ETF was being approved in 24 hours?
Well, the clock's running out on that one.
I'm just telling you, it was about. I got that rumor at 8 o'clock last night.
Well, I hope I am wrong, but I think I would say that is an absolute no-go. That would be my biggest surprise of the year if that happened. But I would be pleasantly surprised.
And that's how they do it, though. That's, you know what I mean?
Well, that's a fair statement. That's exactly how they do it. When you least expect it, they're not going to do it when everybody's looking at it and pointing to a date on a calendar. That is true. All right, let me post this poll. There's 4 Bitcoin miners that JP Morgan just put out price targets on. 2 were sells, 2 were buys. So I'm going to ask this question, see what you guys think. I don't know why that didn't. Okay, which Bitcoin miner do you think is the best investment now, as in right now? And remember that Riot and Marathon, JP Morgan said were a sell. Cleanspark and Iris, JP Morgan said were a buy. So let's see what you guys think. What's the best one right now? We'll let that go. People jumped on that poll. People had pretty strong opinions on that one. And while we're doing that, once again, if I could ask everybody to please smash the like button. We're now at 74 likes. We're crawling, but we're going to get there. I believe. I believe
Marathon will fly.
Whoa!
I believe it will touch the sky.
Sorry, everybody. Apparently, I haven't been paying attention, but we got 2 giant, of course, right after the market closes on Friday, 2 giant green candles. How green are these? From the bottom, and we've pulled back a little bit, but that was a 1.4% jump in a few minutes here. Maybe somebody heard you, George, say the
No, I mean, I wasn't going to say anything about it, but now that it... I mean, how can you believe this stuff that you hear nowadays? But it was from a reliable source. It was...
So I'm on the 15-minute time frame, but we just broke out of... We had a big dip in the middle of the trading day on Wednesday, 2 days ago, and we've been below that ever since. And after the market closed today, now in the last 20 minutes, we've had a big move to the upside. And let's do an info line and just see exactly we're talking
Well, my
about
whole
here.
thing, and this is what the other thing that people that you and I said, Tom, we actually aligned. We said that Bitcoin, we felt this October would go to 30,000.
Yes. That was my strong feeling coming into the month of October. I'm not gonna say it's not gonna get there, but I showed you why I do think there have been some things moving in the wrong direction, not supporting what I was looking at. But the overall trend, I'll just go back to that one. The overall trend, we still are. I'll go back to this. It shows it a little better. We're still in this. We've had an upward trend for a month. We're a little bit outside of the bottom of this, and with a green candle today, maybe we could get back into this. But we're still having a series of higher highs and higher lows, and so that for the last month, we're still bullish in the short term. So when you say, are we bullish, are we bearish, you got to look. Sometimes there's multiple trends at work all at the same time, depending on the time frame you look at. We still haven't moved outside. Year to date, we're still bullish. So in this month, we're still bullish. Year to date, we're still bullish. So there's a lot of, but we've had these pullbacks. This is the third and most serious of all the pullbacks, in that it's lasted a lot longer than the other ones. But we've had 20% pullbacks in the year 2023. And after the first two, we recovered and set a new higher high. So we'll see if that happens this time. We haven't broken that trend. So that's, to me, until a trend breaks, you go with the trend. But I think I'm a little more bullish than average right now than versus the rest of.
I believe. Tom, I mean, show me the technicals of Bitcoin right now. How you have your little candle closes and
Do you want me to
move
run
up
through
and down.
this? Yes.
Yes, I think we kind of have to.
I ran through that. I think you might have been on a call, but a lot of people may not have seen that. So I'll just super quickly go through that again and show you why I think we did. We have broken our trend a little bit.
Are we above the 200?
Let's pull up the 200. The 200 day, the 200 week.
200 day, baby. That's the one.
We got to go. Let's go to the 1 day time frame here. Let's go back to, well, it doesn't matter which one we're on. What is it asking me? I feel like I don't have any indicators on. I gotta buy this. I gotta upgrade whatever this is. More indicators. I have no indicators right now.
No indicators.
I have no. Oh, maybe I have some indicators on a different. I don't see any indicators.
Oh, so basically, yeah. So now I know why that person said that about the ETF. It says Bitcoin will not be appealing the court's decision on Grayscale Bitcoin ETF. Does that mean that they have to approve it now?
No, it does not mean that at all, and there would be no reason for them to appeal that. All that said was the court decided that that the SEC had no basis, or the basis on which they denied the Grayscale trust converting to an ETF was baseless. So, in that regard, Grayscale won their court case. However, the courts cannot tell the SEC, you have to make this, an ETF. So there's no reason to appeal that. I would have been very surprised if they appealed that. It would have just been, maybe I guess it could have been another stall tactic but all they have to do is now give a different reason. Okay, you're right. That's not the reason now. This is the reason we deny it. So I think this is going to come from the sum of all the pressure being put on the SEC. When you have, when you have a circuit court saying you're wrong, when you have bipartisan group in Congress saying, you're being ridiculous, not making a Bitcoin ETF, all these things are mounting to a point where there's going to be enough political pressure where ultimately, in my opinion, they're going to have to do the Bitcoin ETF. And
you might want to look at this poll.
Okay, let's take a look. Let's take a look at the poll. Let's go to the poll. Okay. And we've got a lot of votes in right now. So we have a super clear leader right now. Which Bitcoin miner do you think is the best investment? CleanSpark, 57%. Marathon in second. Marathon and Riot are pretty close, but Marathon is in second at 24%, which is a solid number. Riot's in third at 18%. And Iris Energy, and that is the one that JP Morgan was the most bullish on. Although in their language, they were more bullish on CleanSpark. But if you just do the math, their price target was more bullish on Iris Energy. That's getting 1%. So not a lot of love for Iris Energy. So to that regard, I think you guys agree with, kind of what I was saying. Or maybe you don't. I do like Iris long term, but I did, after dollar cost averaging in for, the first part of the year this year, when they switched gears, I switched gears and I sold a third of my shares. I let everybody know that, at least in the private, I think on the public as well. So I sold a third of my shares in Iris after I just opened the position at the beginning of 2023. I dollar cost averaged in for 6 or 7 or 8 months, whatever it was. Then they came out and said, we're doing a $500 million at the market offering, which was more than double their market cap. And, they put together a $626 million spending plan, all of which may end up being a fantastic thing in the long run. But I just felt in the short to medium run, it was going to be cause for a pullback in the stock. And rightfully so in the short term, because, if you're a $220 million market cap company and you put out a plan to spend $620-something million, that's 2.5 to 3 times your market cap. How are you going to get there? Well, they told you how they were going to get there. They're going to do it through stock dilution. So even if the company gets bigger and better and stronger and the market cap goes up significantly, the price could still go down. So that is the Iris equation, and it seems like you guys are feeling the same way, because that is a to me, and it just jumped up to 3%, but still a distant last place for Iris Energy, and a little bit of a runaway first place for CleanSpark. There does seem to be growing consensus in the market that CleanSpark is the one that's making the best moves right now, and one of the things is, Let me pull up a chart here, because I think this will help explain what we're seeing, in my opinion. All right, so if we look at this chart, this is by market cap. This is a week old now. I do this every weekend. I update this. So this was as of last Friday. So no dramatic change. Actually, one dramatic change in this. BitDeer, which was at $871 million last Friday, it was at $1.4 billion, 2 or 3 weeks before that, has now been cut in half again. So BitDeer, this one number has changed drastically. Other than that, relatively the same. So you can see Riot and Marathon, their market caps have already taken the gigantic run. They have a lot more institutional adoption, so they've made a big part of their run. So at 1.8 billion and 1.66 billion as of last Friday, again, this is a week old, their market cap, CleanSpark at that point was at $572 million. So Marathon was more than triple that, and Riot was even more than that. So you know, even if you think maybe Riot's a stronger company, you might think that there's a lot more room to the upside in a CleanSpark with a market cap much less than a third of what Riot's market cap is. So that's where the potential room to the upside is. And that, you know, as you're making an investment decision, you want to know which stock is going to outperform. So this would be, to me, this is one of my lines of reasoning as to why CleanSpark, if we go to look at this a different way, oh, that's not on here, but, you know, they mine the second most Bitcoin every single month for the last several months, and they'll probably do so for the rest of the year. That's almost a certainty. Their exahash is right there with Riot and Marathon. So the three of them are all looking, Riot's at, you know, 12.5, looking to get to 20, and then looking to get to 35 maybe a year or two later. But, you know, they're targeting 20. Marathon's targeting 23. They're talking about maybe even bumping that up to 28. And CleanSpark just put out an announcement. They just bought some of the latest and greatest S21 Bitmains, and they're looking to get to over 20. So they're the three leaders in exahash. They're going to be the three leaders in production. The other thing is CleanSpark's cost per coin is in a lot better shape right now, particularly than Marathon's. So, you know, that was one of JP Morgan's big, I'll go to what, I think I have what they said here. That's what they cited. Let's see. The analyst said that Marathon is the largest mining operator, but has the highest energy costs and lowest margins. So that is why they put a sell on Marathon. I still don't, for me, I disagree with that. So not with this statement. They do have high energy costs and low margins. That is true. But I think they'll do things to work on that over time. And if and when Bitcoin gets to where it's going, you know, 1 or 2 or 3 years from now, that is going to matter less. It matters a lot more in the short term than it does in the long term, for sure.
Tom?
Yes.
I'm so excited.
All right. Is that the truth?
I'm always excited. That's my problem. You know?
Well, that beats the alternative.
I'm being sad.
Let's check in on Bitcoin. Let's get back to the Bitcoin chart. All right. So we gave some of this back. I don't know what this, maybe there was some liquidations. I don't know what happened. That was a giant push. But we're hanging around. We got way above 27,000. Well, way above. We got above 27,000. Now we're a little bit below, but a nice little move to the upside. Let's see if we can keep some momentum going. It's a long weekend. We're only just getting started.
Yes, Raymond, I am up on my XRP. I'm up 40%.
Nice.
And that's because I dollar cost averaged in.
So see, there's dollar cost averaging at work.
And because of Operation Choke Point. Operation Choke Point.
I didn't follow that last piece of your.
Oh, there's a thing. It's hard to get money into crypto anymore. Are you and the little blue pills again? I am. No, I don't. Dude, you want to know what's crazy? I take no pills. I won't even take an aspirin. I hate aspirin.
Advil? How about an Advil?
I mean, if something happens, you know, if I get in a fight in Taekwondo, then maybe.
And if you have some sores, aches, pains.
Right. I don't usually get sores, aches, pains. All I know is I did 315 for 10 yesterday.
Nice.
Is that insane? I am telling you, I love eating red meat. I never knew. How did we, Tom? How did we meet? It was a dreary night.
Crypto Fever said, "Tom, did you read the part where they said Bitcoin's a pet rock. I don't know if it was Jamie Dimon himself. That was a quote from years ago. Yeah, they are famously, Jamie Dimon's an ultra high profile individual. He's the CEO of JP Morgan. And, he was one of the biggest bears on on Bitcoin of all time, to the point where, he said something to the effect at one point, if I see anybody trading Bitcoin at one of my trading desks, I'll fire them. I mean, he was very, very bearish on Bitcoin. But he has subsequently kind of had to come out and admit Bitcoin is, it's not going away. And they've added, some exposure inside of their organization. And now, they've started coverage. They now have coverage on 5 of the Bitcoin miners. They just initiated 3 on Wednesday. So they're coming around reluctantly. I think there's a lot of other people inside of the firm that feel a lot differently than Jamie Dimon does himself. And I will always add, I think I've already said, I take analysts with a grain of salt. I have no idea what their motivation is. If you look at this analyst, not to say anything negative, but his track record is not that good. Seems like a newer analyst, and who knows? We don't know. We don't know what their deal is. They could have, and a lot of these big banks, and especially the hedge funds, you guys know how this works. They're buying it on one desk and selling it, 5 desks down, and so we don't know what any of that means, which is why I try to ignore. I'll read the report and see if there's any meaningful information. But most of us in this group, we'd probably know the Bitcoin miners just as well or better than the analysts that have to cover a broad array of things. So
somebody asked, sorry, I forgot who it was. Hang on. Ross, that is bench. Squat? Oh my goodness. I squat like 600. Bench. I am going, so listen to this. Sorry. I know I'm hijacking it, but
go ahead, George.
Edmund said he wouldn't be here this week, so I did 25 at 225 right before I went for 315. So that's what blew my mind.
That's crazy. That's almost crazier than.
Oh yeah. I'm gonna go for 405 next week. Did you really get hit by a rock, or you just? I thought you were just sour's car. So the car in front of me on the interstate threw a rock back at me and dented my front driver's side fender, and the miners are red too. Damn.
Just got in a fender bender right now?
Yeah. No, he didn't. Do you think that he owns 42% of the Federal Reserve, Jamie Dimon? Or do you think Crypto Fever, it is owned by
nobody owns the Federal Reserve.
Nobody, did you hear that, Crypto? No one owns the Federal Reserve. That's what Tom said. I didn't say that.
It's not what I said. Look at their charter. Nobody owns the Federal Reserve. I mean, I guess it is what I said since I just said it, but
that's really funny, Tom. When's the full moon coming?
That's your department.
I know, I'm looking it up. October 28th. Oh yeah, this is going to be a crazy Halloween.
Yeah, I don't list Peter G is talking about. Diamond was also saying that stocks will go down last December. Guy is bleeping clown. I don't pay too much attention to him either. And the same thing. I don't know what his motivation is when he goes out and says something. Remember, these guys are all in it for themselves, right? Their job, JP Morgan's job is for JP Morgan to make money. So, you know, it's not some public service announcement and, you know, kindness to man that when they put coverage out on these and price targets. So a healthy skepticism is more than fair on these analysts. And who said, I did notice, let me just find it so I can say who said it and give credit to them. Stephen English, the analyst, his pick is in the bio. He looks like he's about 18 years old. So yeah, if you go look at, he looks new. I feel like, you know, and I don't, again, he might be a rocket scientist and a genius for all I know, but it seems like they picked the new guy and said, you go say bad stuff about Marathon and Riot. So that is not financial advice. That is, I have no knowledge or basis for that statement other than just what Stephen English says. Just go take a look at his picture. But I will say, you know, it is my opinion that I disagree with them on Marathon and Riot. You know, for them to put a sell on those, I disagree with. But they're not, you know, plenty of people I'm sure are bearish on the Bitcoin miners. And rightfully so. It's been a brutal 90 to 100 days. I mean, just brutal. We had a nice run for a while, but 2022 was a disaster for Bitcoin and the Bitcoin miners. 2023, the first 4 months were great. It's been pretty rough since then. So, you know, this has been a tough run for those of you still here. Also, I should say a special thanks to all of our members. Thank you very much for being a member, supporting the channel. Thanks for showing up on the Friday live streams and on our members only live stream. Much appreciated. For those of you
not yelling at me too much.
Yeah. For those of you who don't know, we do have a membership. We try and make it extremely affordable. It's $5 a month. It helps support the channel. So if you are interested, you can do that by hitting the join button on YouTube. It's right next to the subscribe button. Again, it's only $5 a month. We have a once a week members only live stream. So we do a everybody in the world live stream every Friday, which we're doing right now. We do a members only live stream every Tuesday after the market closes. And we have a members only Discord where we talk about a lot of different things. So appreciate the members.
And you didn't say the most important thing. We do a deep dive on stocks every week.
Yes, we do a deep dive on a stock that the members pick. And so we have a whole catalog of deep dive videos ready and waiting if you're interested in joining the membership. Some of those are on Bitcoin and Bitcoin miners, but those are fair game, whatever the members like. And we have a lot of different members that have, I won't use the word expertise, I don't want to put that on anybody, but that have a lot of knowledge, that are very knowledgeable about other industries. So as a group, I think it helps us all learn more about, you know, different opportunities out there in the marketplace. So appreciate you guys. You've been doing a great job. And everybody's been doing a great job smashing the like button on the videos. So
you know what's really funny is when certain people aren't here on the stream.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? Like when one of the guys are missing, you know when they're not here.
That's true.
Isn't that funny? Like I get so used to seeing everybody's name, I can tell who's missing.
Yeah, we have
There's two people that I can think of that are missing. I don't know if you looked at it much. Obviously, one is, you know, the man, the myth, the legend, who needs no introduction, Edmund. But there's another person
I don't remember
missing.
what we started talking about, but we got 4 seconds. I don't even know how he types that fast. Edmund is a longtime member, and we appreciate him, but he does not like to talk about anything other than absolute laser focus on Bitcoin and the Bitcoin miners. Oh,
no.
And I had strayed very far away, but it was only for 15 seconds. I made a comment and brought up a thing that at that point the Powerball here in the U.S. was at $1.7 billion. So I just, you know, mentioned that, and I quickly got a response from Edmund before I could even get the words out of my mouth. I don't see what the Powerball has anything to do with Bitcoin. So,
by the way, did you see that it just got up there again?
Somebody won.
Right, and somebody won. Did you see me do my fingers?
Hey, listen, that's what I heard. So
Yeah, somebody.
somebody won. It wasn't me. Crypto rich, go Bills.
Do you think you would do anything different? I don't.
In life,
Yeah.
not really. I mean, what what would you do? I don't know.
Just buy a bigger boat. I don't like boats, by the way.
I don't like boating. I'm not a big travel person. So some people might argue
Yeah,
that I'm boring. That's
I'm okay with that.
it has been said. I'm going to end this poll. This is a runaway. Although just to give final tallies, and we're over 100 votes on this. CleanSpark, 60% picked CleanSpark as the best investment right now out of the 4 choices they were given, and these were the 4 companies that JP Morgan put a price target on. So out of those 4, CleanSpark by far 60%. Marathon and Riot ended up in almost a tie, but Marathon edged out a little bit, 19% Marathon, 18% Riot, and then in a distant last place, 3% Iris Energy. So just ticked up to 4%. So Iris will close it with Iris finishing strong. So CleanSpark, and I'm on board. I'm 100% on board with that. If you asked me, if you said you're only allowed to dollar cost average into one more stock for the rest of the year, I would absolutely pick CleanSpark. Not financial advice, but that is my opinion. And it's not just my opinion. It might be what I actually end up doing for the rest of this year.
Oh,
Depends
really?
on what happens. Depends on what price certain things get to. But if things keep going just kind of sideways, if there's big buying opportunities in some stocks I like because things take another big turn to the downside, then I may have a different opinion on that. But if we sit here and continue to go sideways, then I will skew heavily into continuing a dollar cost average into CleanSpark. That's the one I feel the best about. And I feel, I like Riot a lot. But like I just showed you, Riot's market cap is significantly more than triple CleanSpark's. So, for that reason, I feel like I have enough Riot. Stephen English is saying Tom would buy a new black shirt. I would buy a bunch of new black shirts. I have... Well, maybe you guys do know, because when my AC was broken, I took my black shirt off, and underneath that, I have a black t-shirt. So I have a closet full of black shirts and black t-shirts.
Wrong with you, dude?
I do have other shirts. I just don't wear them. But I got them. I have other shirts of various other colors. This black t-shirt that I have is just super comfortable. And when you find a good shirt, I just, you buy 20 of them. And then
Do you buy the exact same shirt too?
Yes, the exact same shirt, the exact same t-shirt. Shirts don't fit me quite right. So if I find something that fits, that's it. It's a go. Bitcoin MicroPig, welcome to the stream. He's saying do a survey of MicroStrategy versus any of the miners. So we'll do that right now. So it's fair to mention, I have also been dollar cost averaging into MicroStrategy. That is something I started just last month. And somebody did say, "Oh, does that mean you're not buying the Bitcoin miners anymore?" No, I'm still buying the Bitcoin miners, but I did add MicroStrategy to the list. I won't skew anything. Let's do the survey first, and then we can talk about it. Thanks, Bitcoin MicroPig. That's a good suggestion. Should I throw the Grayscale Bitcoin Trust in there as well? I'm going to guess that's going to come in a distant last, but I'll put it in there. And we won't say Bitcoin. Actually, you know what? Let's not even put the Grayscale Trust. Let's see what people's opinion are. No, I'm curious because I do think that's going to come in last place by far.
It's so crazy.
Who, me?
No, just life. Life's crazy.
Life is crazy. I'm not sure which gray they spell this, but you guys know what I'm talking about. Okay, better investment right now as we sit here going sideways month after month. Bitcoin miners, MicroStrategy, or the Grayscale Trust.
I have a question regarding the Grayscale Trust. If the ETF is approved, does that go parabolic?
If the ETF is approved, it's likely that, you know, within a short period of time, they will convert the Grayscale Trust to an ETF. So that is one of the ones. They were, you know, they've already gone to court over this. So they're if and when this happens, there's going to be more than one trust.
Woohoo! We hit 100.
All right, thank you everybody very much for 100 likes.
But what I'm saying is, where it go parabolic? Is there a chance? Is there a chance it could go parabolic then?
Is the Grayscale Trust?
Yeah.
If it go, the first thing it's going to do, it's down to I think a 17 or 18% discount right now. So at one point that was like 47 or 49% discount. It's a lot of that's evaporated. So you're going to get that. That's a one-time only benefit you're going to get if it converts. And then, you know, if that goes parabolic, then that means that Bitcoin's going parabolic. And in that instance, then all of these assets we're talking about, the Bitcoin miners, MicroStrategy, and the ETFs would all go up simultaneously. There's a lot of talk about, you know, would an ETF steal money away from the Bitcoin miners? But I will tell you, it's my extremely strong personal opinion, not financial advice, that is not how that would work. The Bitcoin miners are a leveraged play on Bitcoin. So if Bitcoin goes up, they're likely to go up. Additionally, the Bitcoin miners all put together right now, I think the combined market cap of all publicly traded Bitcoin miners is plus or minus $7 billion. So it's insignificant. So it's not like, you know, the money that's going to go into Bitcoin is going to come from the Bitcoin miners. There isn't any money there. It's going to come from the rest of people's portfolios. So that's my opinion. You know, if Bitcoin moves up, everybody wins. And including obviously an ETF. And I think an ETF, you know, I think most of us think that sooner or later an ETF would have a positive effect on Bitcoin. Opinions vary on how quickly that would be.
I don't know why I'm getting anxious. Must be Bitcoin's about ready to go up 1% for the day.
Let's see. We're on the chart. Yeah, we're headed back up. We're over 27,000. We got a good live stream going. We're having a Bitcoin pump, mini pump.
Yeah, just so you know, I said the miners right now, the Bitcoin miners. That's what my pick was.
That was your vote?
Yeah, well, I mean, because you got that management fee, and that's what I don't like.
On the Grayscale?
Yep.
I think there was a public. It was a rare it was a live stream, but it was a MicroStrategy only live stream where I kind of went through why I think MicroStrategy is a good investment. So, again, not financial advice. That's only my personal opinion.
Do you own any?
Yes. And I just started dollar cost averaging into them. It feels like a month ago to me, but I do lose track of time, so I don't know if that was 7 weeks ago or 3.5 weeks ago.
Interesting.
But it's a recent development. But I did let everybody know when I started to do that. Bitcoin Market Pick is saying the key to MicroStrategy is Saylor can abuse his Cantillon privilege to borrow fiat and convert it to Bitcoin. This could catalyst hyper-Bitcoinization. What happens when other big corpos do the same? Yeah, I mean, Michael Saylor's leading the way, and I know he gives seminars, and he's almost on like a mission to teach the world that it's time to invest in Bitcoin, the corporate world, that is. And yeah, it's a great leveraged play, and I feel like it's a leveraged play where he's managed to do it in a way where the leverage to the upside, in my opinion, outweighs the leverage to the downside based on the way he's structured that debt that he's getting. I mean, it's just fantastic, fantastic debt. So I like it. We got 58 votes, so better investment right now. The Bitcoin miners, MicroStrategy, and as I suspected, the Grayscale Bitcoin Trust is in last place. There's a lot of fear for some, and there's a lot of, I don't know if mistrust is the right word. There's not a lot of confidence in that Grayscale Bitcoin Trust. And it probably has to do with, you know, the group that they're associated with and some stuff that's happened in or around them in the past. So I'm just speculating. Mary, I think Mary is saying the better investment would be actually Bitcoin. I intentionally didn't include that. Definitely, that's, you know, that's another, obviously, that's the most direct way you can invest in Bitcoin. So, you know, I think a lot of people would, had I put that on the list, that would have gotten a good share of the vote. I just wanted to compare, you know, if you're not going to buy Bitcoin directly, what would be your alternate play on getting exposure to Bitcoin without actually buying Bitcoin? But yes, for sure, obviously, Bitcoin itself is the purest play. Tim is saying another reason Mara will run the hardest is they have by far the most short interest. So that's true. There's always been a big short interest in Marathon. Crypto Fever, true FOMO starts. Your average FOMO investor will get more bang for his buck buying 5K shares of miners versus 500 shares of MicroStrategy. I do agree that if we get to a point, I think if and when we get to a point that Bitcoin does get to its next full-blown bull market point in its cycle, hits new all-time highs, at that point, if you've picked the right Bitcoin miner, those will probably be the biggest winners. But in the meantime, each one of these represents a different risk-reward equation. So if you pick the wrong Bitcoin miner and Bitcoin, you know, takes longer to get where it's going, you know, you might lose altogether. So it's all across the spectrum. There's no right or wrong answer to this. It's all different strategies, and only time is going to tell which one, you know, is the best one right now. You know, if Bitcoin all of a sudden turns around and goes on a rampage right now, then probably the Bitcoin miners have a lot more room to the upside in the short term. But if it goes sideways like it's been doing for months and months, there's a lot of people think that we're going to go pretty much sideways into the halving. And there's another group of people that think it may be 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 months after the halving before we get where we're going. So I think we'll start moving significantly in the right direction sometime before the halving, or at least at the halving. And I think those first 6 months after the halving are going to be very, very positive for Bitcoin, in my opinion.
What? Wait.
Thank you, everybody, again for the likes. If you have not smashed the like button, please smash the like button. It's much appreciated. It does help the channel.
Now they're saying that Jim Jordan is going to be the speaker. Republicans pick Jim Jordan as nominee for House Speaker, putting job. So, I don't know when they're voting on it.
Well, we'll have to wait and see for a vote, because it seems like every time I tune in on that, there's a completely different story.
Right, and not only that, you can still have Jeffries, because I'm pretty sure the Democrats are putting up Jeffries.
Well, or we could keep going without for days and weeks and months.
Hey, maybe we can't get any deeper in debt if that's the case.
It's funny. It was not funny, but a lot of people are saying what you're saying is, hey, you know, for as long as this happens, you know, maybe we stop running up the debt. Well, we got gridlock.
370 after hours for Cleanspark. Nice.
Oh, we got to move to the upside after hours for Cleanspark?
Yeah.
Well, there should be a decent move to the upside for a lot of these.
So
Bitcoin's
so I'll let you know, I sold mine today, and then I got back into it before it took off. Because once I heard Bitcoin was moving, thank you guys, whoever said it on the stream.
What?
They said, oh, we got a pump on Bitcoin. And I was like, you know what? And then I remembered what that guy said yesterday about the ETF. And I was like, why'd I get out? So I got back in. So just by
you did? You got back in?
Almost immediately. It's the same price.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So almost. I didn't get this. I sold at 356 and I got back in at 357.
Random miscellaneous note, just because this has been in the news for so long, it seems like forever. Today, finally, Microsoft closed on the $69 billion takeover of Activision Blizzard.
69 billion.
Call of Duty.
$1 billion.
So they had to rework this deal around a lot, and I'm only going to spend 30 seconds on this because nobody asked and possibly nobody cares. But this is like one of the biggest deals of all time. And Microsoft is the second largest company by market cap in the United States and one of the largest, obviously, in the world. And this is a monster takeover. It makes them the third largest gaming company. Behind, I think they said...
Well, why do I have to be on? I shouldn't be honest with you guys.
What?
Paper hands. I think it should be probably leaf hands. Trust me. I hate losing. I can't tell you how much I hate losing. And I get to a point where I get those paper hands that are like, I gotta tell my wife I did this.
Unless you're trading after hours, this is the most frustrating time of the week for me. Unless you're trading after hours, and I'm not really day trading these stocks, a gigantic run up, you know, Cleanspark's up 5+% after hours on a Friday. By Monday morning, this is going to mean nothing, right? Because who knows what's going to happen in the next...
This weekend.
Right.
Well, yeah, but here's the thing. We can all agree on this.
Yes. What?
It's going to either go up or go down.
There's definitely, or it's either going to go up or down, or it's going to go sideways some more.
No, up or down. I don't think it's, I mean, I don't know. I do have paper hands, so I'm not going to lie. I get nervous.
I want to just show another thing. This is another thing that I like that Cleanspark did, but also this has to do with something else that's going on out there that is a shift, a big shift in the Bitcoin mining world. This was a press release from 2 days ago. Probably most of you are aware of this. Cleanspark acquired 4.4 exahash of new Antminer S21 Bitcoin miners. So this is like we talked about. This is going to put them over 20 exahash at some point in 2024. Who knows when these will arrive and get energized and all that stuff. So, you know, I'm not going to get ahead of ourselves. That's not the point of my story. First of all, these efficiency ratings, 17.5 joules per terahash. So that's 20% better than the XPs, which were, you know, pretty much considered the gold standard. A lot of the publicly traded Bitcoin mining companies have fleets full of these XPs. Now, having said that, I think the XPs are still going to be great and highly profitable even after the halving. So it's not like, oh man, everybody blew it buying the XPs. Those are great machines. Yes, these are even better. But what really grabbed my attention in this article was, and they kind of made you do the math, and I don't know why. They said here the machines with deliveries set to begin in January 2024 were purchased with favorable terms, including 20% seller-based financing of the total purchase price. So, two interesting things there. And this is Bitmain. So, they're financing 20% of the cost, and that's $2.80 per terahash. So, if you do the math, they bought these for $14 per terahash. It is incredible to me how the price of these Bitcoin mining machines is just plummeting. It continues to plummet. This is less. So this is the even latest and greatest machine. And already they're buying this for less than they were buying the XPs for at the lowest people bought the XPs. So there's been, the price of this has fallen off a cliff. I'm not exactly sure I understand the dynamic here. Let me know in the chat if you guys understand. But here's what this has led to. So you can see, I mean, remember, in 2020, late 2021 and in 2022, people were paying for earlier versions of the S19, people were paying $40, $50, $60, $70 a terahash. So they're now selling, CleanSpark just bought these at $14 a terahash. And so that leads me to this article. This just came out a few days ago. Bitmain reportedly suspended employee salaries for September. Remember, Bitmain's the one that makes these. They're not the only ones. There's other competition out there, and it seems like possibly a combination of things. The competition may be getting to them. Bitmain, one of the world's largest Bitcoin application-specific integrated circuit, the ASIC manufacturers, has suspended employee salary payments for September, according to a Tuesday report. They then say the firm has also cut all bonus incentives for its staff on top of the employee salaries since last month. For the month of September, the company has yet to achieve a net positive cash flow. So what is going on at Bitmain? They're producing all of these Bitcoin miners. They have gigantic, sales are through the roof, but they keep lowering the price. And at this point, they're cash flow negative. Something has to break here, or something's already broken. So maybe this is a topic for another day. If somebody wants to, put their 2 cents in and give me a clue as to what they think is going on here. Clearly, this is great news to a certain extent for the Bitcoin miners.
So, Tom, did they say whether they're housed, if the employees are housed there or not?
It does not say that in this article.
And whether so the way, some of the way the factories are over there in China is they actually are housed there and they're fed there.
And that could be the case here. So,
Yeah.
Maybe their salary is only a portion of what, of their overall compensation package.
Right.
It then goes on to say employees reportedly face an additional 50% cut to their base salary.
Ah, there you go. So that doesn't even make sense.
So I don't know what's going on. You see, there's a lot of back orders in, right? We know Marathon, actually in specific, Riot just placed a gigantic order. And now we just saw CleanSpark place a gigantic order. All these machines have to be delivered over the next maybe 6 months, 8 months, whatever the case may be. And here's Bitmain, they can't even pay their employees and they're cash flow negative. So I don't get it. These were companies.
Are they a publicly traded company?
They're not.
Oh, so everything they're saying, they're just it doesn't matter. Doesn't matter what the you know what I mean?
Well, the one thing we can verify is they're dropping the
702.
price of
Woohoo!
these. They're huh?
Sorry, CleanSpark's 377 now. I'm wondering when to get out. I'm thinking about getting back out.
You gonna just pick up some quick bucks and move along?
Yeah, I'm waiting.
I mean,
I really thought it was gonna go back. I just can't believe it's below 4 now. I'm sorry.
yeah. So a giant 7% move after hours. A lot of good that does me.
Why?
So I don't know if you guys are making after hours moves.
Oh, you won't sell after hours?
I don't plan on selling any of this. So for me, a big move to the upside. I'm in a buy and hold situation for probably years on most of these.
So you won't sell anything. So if they get split in half, you're still staying.
Well, I did. I can't say I will never sell anything because I just did sell a month or a month and a half ago. Iris Energy came out with a gigantic announcement. They changed their plans in a fundamental way, in my opinion. It may be a good thing that they did, but in my opinion, it increased the risk. So I sold a portion of my Iris. So there are reasons I would make moves, but all other things being equal, I'm holding these stocks.
Rich said, "Quick buck, then chicken cluck out." LOL. Oh God, that's so funny. Bark, bark.
I mean,
I am a chicken.
FE702 is saying what I agree with. So it's so cheap for CleanSpark. It's still cheap, even at this price. But if I didn't buy it, I did not dollar cost average in today. So if I didn't buy it, when it was down today, I'm not buying it when it's way up after hours. I guess we'll just have to wait and see what happens on Monday. Also, listen, if all of a sudden things take off starting over this weekend and skyrocket and it's straight up from here, I'm already past where I thought I would be in all of my Bitcoin miner positions. So if I never get another chance to dollar cost average in because all of a sudden we just run up to a new all-time high, that's just fine with me. I'm sure a lot of you would prefer, some more time to dollar cost average in. And if I get that, I'll be happy with that too.
Oh, I forgot to tell you guys. My red meat is hamburger. I don't eat anything else but hamburgers because I think it affects me. Like, it's too hard for my stomach to break down, so I only eat hamburgers. So when I say red meat, it's only a hamburger. I just bought Angus beef, like ham from. It's called Miami beef, and that's what I've been living on since I've been here, Tom. By the way, Miami beef.
And by a hamburger, you mean?
Well, multiple hamburgers.
Yes.
I actually stopped eating as many hamburgers as I was, Tom, because I realized each hamburger is 25 grams of protein.
That's good. Can I say what you called me one morning as you were having breakfast?
What?
What you were doing? How many hamburgers you were eating?
3 or 4.
For breakfast.
For breakfast. Yeah, I eat hamburgers for breakfast. Sorry.
So,
Tom, how much of your position in Iris did you sell?
I sold exactly 1/3 of my position in Iris.
Only 1/3. You didn't go a half. Why didn't you do a half?
A third is a lot in my opinion. I'm really not selling any of these.
Yeah,
so
but
to
if
pull
you
a third
remember
off
the
table,
if you remember the conversation you had about it,
yes.
That's why I'm in shock you didn't do a half.
Well, I guess I could have done a half. I could have sold it all. Listen, how many times I've looked at it and gone, man, if I'd have just sold all of it. But
well, I thought you were because when you and I were talking, and then when you went really deep into understanding it, I thought you were getting out.
what I wanted to do by selling a third was just increase my dry powder. So it's not like I'm negative on Iris and I think they're going to zero. I just think they're going to get beat up in the short term for this news. And what I didn't know at that time is all the Bitcoin miners were going to get beat up in the short term. So, it was a double whammy. And I thought if I put some money on the sidelines that would have otherwise been invested, I've hedged my bets. So, because I still do like Iris Energy, despite the fact they polled at 1% today in our poll. I like that company.
Why do you think people keep talking about the dollar like it's like worthless right now? Like the dollar's gone down, the dollar's just worthless. It's like it's
I
just not true.
Well, I think there's two ways people look at the dollar. I look at it more the way you're talking about. The other way to look at it is, inflation is up, so each individual dollar is buying you less of what it used to. But you got away with that. You have to average that with what you're talking about, which, and I'll go to this chart. To your point, the DXY is a measure of the dollar against a basket of foreign currencies. So this is at historically high levels, meaning it's as strong, one of the strongest dollars of all time.
Yeah, look at that.
And we thought, we had a nice little run back. So on our Tuesday live stream, we were 1, 2, 3, 4. I think we were 5 or 6 days in a row into this pulling back. And we were talking Tuesday, well, maybe we'll start heading in the right until we get under this line. This green line here at 103.79, that's a 20-year line of resistance. So for 20 years, the dollar was below this line until April of 2022. So it's been a year and a half now that we've been fluctuating above and below this line. But you can see, we haven't gotten much below this. And as soon as we do, as soon as we had a little pullback, which, by the way, July 14th, the dollar bottomed. July 13th, Bitcoin hit its high for the year in 2023. That is, of course, not a coincidence. This is a major factor on what happens to Bitcoin.
So do you think, how high would, whatever that was back, that peak right behind it, where the other, wherever that high was, I guess it's not an all-time high?
Back here?
Yeah, what was that?
This was up around 114 or 115. This was in September of 2022.
Okay.
So,
so there's a chance we can take that out.
Well, that is right in the middle. If you remember, Bitcoin crashed in June of 2022 down to 17,500. And then early November of 2022, FTX happened, and we took out that low down to 15,500. So right in the middle of that, all through that whole period, the dollar was at its how much above, let's just do the math here. This is 10% above its 20-year high. So no coincidence again, right? This is that 2 or 3 month period of time where Bitcoin kind of double bottomed. Right? This is November. This is just a few days. This is 4 days before FTX happened, was right here. So there's a big correlation. It's, this is not the absolute only thing that matters, but this is a massive, if you want to talk about correlation, this is a much stronger correlation than with the NASDAQ or anything like that. These two are inversely correlated, like, to the extreme.
Wow.
So this is something worth paying attention to. And yes, to your point, from this perspective, it's hard to say, the dollar's garbage when it's, at all-time highs. But I think that line of reasoning and the argument is, with inflation, the dollar's just not buying you what it used to buy you. And especially as you compare it to cryptocurrency, I think people look at the 100-year picture compared to, what does a dollar buy you today compared to what it bought you 100 years ago. And, you can see that moving in the wrong direction. And the concept and the theory is Bitcoin will actually keep moving in the right direction. So over long periods of time, Bitcoin could, be a dramatically, outperform the dollar, if you will. Obviously, it has in the last decade, but we're in very early stage, and, Bitcoin's up insanity from where it started.
Have you been able to find 6% in a savings account or a...
Nope.
I haven't either. Everybody says, that they're paying 6%, and I just best I can find is 5.25.
I have not touched 6%.
Right.
I cannot find 6% anywhere.
That's my number. I really want to find it because I think that's a decent number.
Even at 5.25, or five, 5.25, 5.5, if you're lucky, those are pretty competitive numbers to be able to have cash sitting in the bank.
Right.
For the last 20 years, nobody was getting 1%. Unless you bought a CD, a savings accounts were getting, 0.1% interest for most of the last 20 years. So, these are pretty good numbers, all things considered. But there's some dividend stuff that's going on. We won't even talk about that today, but I am getting more and more interested in dividend stocks because as the entire stock market, with the exception of a handful of stocks, get destroyed, some of these dividend stocks are at 7, 8, 9, 10, 11%. And they're companies that I think that are going to do well over time that are down 30, 40, 50, 60% as well. So that's a potential double move to the upside. Nowhere near, those are nowhere near the return that you're hoping to get from, say, a Bitcoin miner over a couple of year period. But, you can't just have Bitcoin. Well, I suppose you could, but in a diverse portfolio, there's, a lot of different things that you can have. Let's just say that. We'll end this poll. Go ahead.
No, John Q. Public said stake Solano and make 7.7%. I'm so nervous about staking any of my crypto.
We've seen, and I don't know where you're doing that, and maybe that is a great thing, but this is a new concept versus the rest of the financial universe, and we've seen situations where people lost, forget their 7.7% interest, they lost all their principal staking.
And do you remember talking about that, Tom? I was like, it just doesn't make any sense that everybody thinks that there's no risk in this play.
Right, it was a massive high risk play, and there were some wrongdoers, if you will, inside the space that...
Not your keys, not your coins.
Right. Having said that, I don't know. Maybe there's some good opportunities out there. I know that there were 2 or 3 super high profile scenarios where that went horribly wrong. But there's risk in everything. Some of the, AT&T and Verizon are paying very high dividend. For S&P 500 stocks, for, blue chip stocks, they're way down at historic lows and paying, 7 or 8% dividends. So, I think that's a good investment. But having said that, who's to say AT&T doesn't go out of business? So then you lost your whole investment there too. So there's risk everywhere. Everything's a risk reward. The lowest risk by a million miles would be what you're talking about, George. If you could find a 90-day CD at 5% or whatever the case may be, especially if it's, in the U.S. and it's FDIC insured, then, that puts your risk down to negligible.
That's great.
Crypto Fever, so are we going to mention how the long end bonds are selling off and delivering their own version of rate hikes to the economy, doing the Fed's job for them, which is a good point, Crypto Fever. And I think one of the reasons I think the Fed is done raising rates, and this is just another reason that leads me to believe that. If we go to our Fed tool that we look, the CME FedWatch tool, today ended at 95% chance that they are not going to raise rates in the November meeting. So wow. Overwhelming. At one point, this was 1 month ago, this was 57%. Now it's almost 95%, 94.3% to be fair. So I think the Fed's done raising rates. there were 3 different members of the Fed that came out and said some dovish stuff this week, indicated that they thought maybe, the probabilities were that they didn't really need to do any more rate hikes. The Fed overall, in their minutes that came out, did not say that. But remember, the minutes, by the time we see the minutes, they're a month old. So a lot happens in a month right now. So I think the Fed's done. That's my opinion. Let's end this poll. So the Bitcoin mine, so still 73% of this group would still invest in the Bitcoin miners as their number one. MicroStrategy got 18% and then Grayscale 9%. So MicroStrategy got double what the Grayscale Bitcoin Trust got. JR saying at Talkin Investing, not AT&T. Trust me, I know you are not alone, JR. Everybody will ridicule me for this, but I just, and it's not a big part of my portfolio, but I think that we've overdone it on AT&T. I don't see them going out of business. And right now they're priced, they're at some kind of multiple, I don't know if it's a 10-year, 20-year, 30-year low on their stock. And I know there's a lot of bad news, and it's a company that's kind of going sideways, but I do think it's a little oversold right now. But, JR, most people would agree with you. Stay away from AT&T, I think, is the general sentiment for the vast majority of investors. So I can't, it's hard to argue against that. I think you're in the majority on that one for sure. FE702 saying AT&T is dead money. Even if they go sideways, they're I'm going to look and see just how much of a low AT&T is at. And remember, this is sometimes, that's not their. This is how old AT&T is. Their stock ticker's T. Right? I mean, that says something right there.
I wonder if it's the oldest.
I'm going to go to the 1 month because that's how far back I think I have to go. All right, so in 2003, we took that out. So that's 20 years ago, but we took that out. You got to go back to 1993 to see AT&T trade. That's 30 years ago. So while I agree AT&T is not having their best days right now, do they deserve to be at a 30-year low? Maybe. I think no. And they're down, from their all-time high, they're down 68%, which for a stock like this is significant. But that was a long, long time ago. It's not even fair to compare that. But even just from, this year, from February of this year, this stock's down, close to 30%. A 30% pullback on a blue chip stock like this, that's a disaster move, especially when it was already at pretty much historic lows. So I guess there could be even more downside, but we're already at a 30-year low. A month from now, you guys can laugh at me if we're at a 40-year low a month from now. And that could happen. I understand there's risk involved in that particular play. But in the meantime, I'm getting close to an 8% dividend on it. So,
is this true? I'm sorry, I don't usually do political stuff, but I'm just going to read something that came over on X. And this doesn't really, I'm not trying to be political on this, but it says since Biden became president, between 7 to 10 million foreign nationals have crossed our border, and we don't know where they are. Wow. That's just crazy to me.
I don't know how to quantify that.
I don't either. 7 to 10 million.
Bitcoin's still doing its thing, over 27,000.
Well, that's good.
And that doesn't seem like a lot, but it's a nice move to the upside. And let me go to I want to go to this chart that we looked at the beginning of the stream and see, what this has done to put us maybe back on track for, I got to go to the 1 week. Or sorry, the 1 day. What I'm hoping to get, remember earlier in the stream, this candle was red when this stream started. Right? This is today's daily candle that's going to close in a couple hours. This candle was red when the stream started. We were low, and, you know, I circled this, and I was hoping that, you know, I was saying this is day 3 of being outside of this channel right here, and I would like to get back in this channel. Well, we're making a nice strong move, and it, you know, maybe this weekend, if we can get back above the bottom of this channel, you know, we could be back on, you know, this run to 30 to 32,000 that I'm hoping for. Maybe we have a good weekend. So that's why I say, like, it's only $300 or $400, but, you know, we're only a couple $100 outside of getting back on track here. So it's a nice move to the upside. And we had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 red candles in a row. When this stream started, we were only a few hours away from closing a 6th red candle in a row. But instead, it looks like we're going to have a nice green candle. Potential reversal right here during the live stream Friday after the equity markets closed. That would be nice. Then if we establish that this was a low, then we really continue our higher lows, and that continues potentially the bull trend. Early, very early to make that call, right? I'm not trying to get too far ahead of myself, but I went through all the negative news. And then lastly, you'll see this was heading down, and this daily, on the RSI for Bitcoin and for everything, if you're on the daily candle, this doesn't lock in until the end of the day. So all of a sudden, instead of this being another day where this keeps moving further and further below 50, we're almost back to 50 on the daily RSI. And that was one of the reasons I said, you know, maybe we're failing here on our mission in October. So this is a nice turnaround. I'm extremely encouraged. Again, very early, so, but it's, if you know, it's as much as you could have asked for on the live stream here. So definitely happy with the progress. All right, George, we're running a little long. Any thoughts? Any parting thoughts?
Words of wisdom. Not your keys, not your coins. Get them off the exchanges. That's always going to be.
That is George's mission, and I think also one of your, in addition to being a public service announcement for people to keep their coins safe, the more we get off of exchange, the lower the supply is, and the faster Bitcoin maybe gets where it's going. So everybody wins.
But my question is, Tom, and just on it, you don't think in the next 6 months there could be a total, complete collapse in the stock market?
A total and complete collapse? No, I don't.
10% down.
Oh, 10%? Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay.
Absolutely. Even if you had said 20%, I would say that could very well be. I don't think there's going to be a 30, 40, 50% move. I don't think, especially we're now approximately 1 year away in the U.S. from a presidential election. You know, I know we got people from all around the world, so, you know, but the U.S. market, I just don't see the U.S. market having a huge disaster going into an election. But, you know, who knows?
All right. Well, thanks, everybody.
Yes, thanks, everybody.
I might not welcome everybody, but I always am the first person to thank everybody. You know that, Tom?
That's it.
125 likes. If you want to continue the conversation, we're on Discord. Please like the channel. We have a lot of fun with you guys. I hope you guys do too. And we'll see you Tuesday for the private stream.
Thank you, George. Yes, and special thanks to all of our members, a lot of whom I see on the stream right now. So, and thanks to all of our subscribers. Thanks to everybody for showing up at the stream. But as always, special thanks to the members. Everybody have a fantastic weekend. Go Bitcoin. I won't say the rest. You just said it for me. All right, have a great weekend, everybody.
See you guys.